Last year, we were split on 28 Years Later. I really enjoyed it, whereas Andy didn't like it and Stephen hated it. So, what do we think of the sequel, The Bone Temple? Let's find out on the Late Night Movie Podcast. Welcome back to the Late Night Movie Podcast. I'm your host, Welchy, and joining me, as always, is my co-hosts, Mr. Pop Figures. I don't know why I forgot that. Andy.
I forgot my name. Cool. I haven't been gone that long. No, yeah, excited to be back. Excited to talk about the Bone Temple. I think we all are. And yeah, thanks for having me back.
I'll tell you why I forgot. It's because I'm trying to do it without the script for a little bit. Like the intro, I should know it by now, and obviously I don't.
Yeah.
And our resident horror expert, Stephen.
See, I'm never forgotten. No, it's a pleasure to be back, and yeah, very, very excited to talk about 28 Years Later, The Bone Temple. It's going to be a good one.
Yes, obviously it was June, I think, the first one. 28 Years Later, around that time. It was summer anyway.
I was counting down the days from that trailer. I think it was the 19th of December that first incredible trailer with the poem boots.
And it ended up being 28 weeks before the deadline, right?
Yes.
Before the release date, yeah.
They released it literally 28 weeks before it came out. I was like, that's genius. And I think I watched that trailer upwards of maybe like 30 times between it coming out and then when we saw the film. So yeah, I would say that was my most anticipated movie and probably the most deflated I've ever felt walking out of a cinema. I was depressed for a number of days following watching that.
So if you're new to the channel, haven't seen that review, I would recommend it. It's actually 4 of us last time. Jack was here. Jack was on my side. He liked the film. So it's kind of like a 2v2 last year. That was actually on YouTube. So it was around the time we'd just converted to YouTube podcast as well. So if you're a YouTube fan or YouTube follower, you can watch it that way as well. And go there if you want an update on what our thoughts were. But as I said, we've kind of gone through. Andy didn't like it. Stephen hated it. Me and Jack liked it. Unfortunately, Jack hasn't watched it yet. He's watching it on Monday. But we want to get this review out as early as possible because obviously the film come out on Wednesday the 14th. I went on Wednesday night. And it was not packed out at all. I was like, oh god, this doesn't look good. Oh, to be fair, it was like a 9:20 showing. I turned up at 9:30 thinking I'm gonna have to like get past everyone from my seat. There was no one in my row.
That's crazy. It wasn't particularly busy when we went either. I can't remember what time after it was now, but
it was.
Yeah, it wasn't super busy.
8:20, I think.
Which for these kind of films, I think people prefer to go to these later ones.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
No,
like
it was actually bang on 8 o'clock that the time was, because I remember just sort of knowing what time I had to leave McDonald's to pick you up. So yeah, it was 8 o'clock. I mean, I would say that the row ahead of us was almost full,
but there was like, we was in a big cinema screen. There was like at least 3-4 rows that were empty.
Yeah,
they gave us the biggest screen in my cinema, and they didn't need to. Yeah, let's put it that way. Like, there was so many empty seats.
We were
crazy.
We were originally going to watch it on Wednesday because that was the day that it came out.
Yeah.
But we were kind of hinging on potentially it being the Scream Unseen, which was obviously Primate, which we reviewed last week on the podcast. But as soon as we it showed up that it was Primate, on the way back I was like, yeah, we need to change it to Thursday because there was no way that I was missing Chelsea Arsenal that night.
I missed it. That was my
so that was the only reason why we pushed it a day further down the line.
So obviously we're going to go into the stats and figures first, which will give an indication as to why we said the cinemas were empty. So budget. Do any of you know what the budget was?
I don't. But obviously, big cast. 30 million.
Stephen?
Try to remember what the budget for the first movie was, because that would kind of give me an indication as
it was
to where
very similar
we
to
are.
The first one.
Yeah, because they filmed
them, but it's basically the same, so there's no point.
They filmed them back to back,
yeah.
Essentially. So it's annoying I don't remember the budget for it. I'll go 25 million.
63.
Wow.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah, big movies. I said not compared to like Marvel films, but still a big horror movie. Box office.
63. Wow.
Box office, and that's production. That is not including marketing.
Yeah.
So a bit more, maybe 70, 75, maybe more. Box office, so far, obviously just released Wednesday. This was as of like a couple of hours ago, so I don't think it updates until midnight anyway. Where do you think it's got to so far? I
I
haven't seen
know,
any
like
articles personally, but
everything I've been seeing about this film is saying it's not done as well as the first 28 years later, which is surprising me because obviously it's come out with quite good reviews.
yeah,
So I was expecting it to do better, but I don't know, like 10 million.
Stephen.
Go maybe like 15 million. I mean, we've had an opening weekend, I suppose, because it comes out Wednesday, so it's an awkward day
It's
to
an extra
release.
day.
But
Yes, it's not going to do the best on a
yeah,
Wednesday.
but essentially, you're going to start to see the figures from the weekend. So yeah, 15 million maybe.
31.
Oh,
Wow,
okay.
So it's made
doubled.
half of its
Okay,
production already,
that's good.
and looks like it could go quite far past it.
I
The last one finished on 151, and I think it was kind of considered barely a success because you have to at least double to be called, like in Hollywood, to be called a
Yeah.
success, and they
I
basically scraped it.
like anticipate that it's going to be in the cinemas for quite a while because of the reviews that have come out. So it should be okay. I also read an article that the third has essentially been it was already greenlit, like regardless of like this would have to be a complete and utter failure. But yeah, part 3 is in the works
We'll
with
definitely
Danny.
talk about part 3 soon, or at the end, I
Yeah,
guess. Um,
but also
go.
the interesting thing, Danny Boyle will be coming back to direct.
Yeah, oh, I see. I mean, we'll talk about the current director in a minute and see whether we'd rather them
Yeah,
carry on. So, Rotten Tomatoes, 93.
Yes.
Yes, Andy, you're looking very smug.
Mm,
So,
yeah.
I'm
for
very
those that
happy.
don't know or didn't see, last week we did our Rotten Tomatoes draft, and we was all too scared to touch this film. And Andy jumped the gun, whatever he did. He took the bullet. That's what I was looking for. Um, and took it as his sixth pick, and it's already
I
on
did.
93 points, which got him, I guess you 46 points. Yeah,
46?
36. 36. You get
Yeah.
30 up to 90, then your free gets doubled. Yeah,
Hello.
36.
Yeah. Yeah. No, obviously, yeah,
Solid
very
start.
happy with that.
Solid
For it
start.
being my sixth pick as well, like I was already thinking about taking the Bone Temple anyway in my game, but the fact that no one's taken it and I was playing more the game than actually sort of choosing what I wanted, I ended up getting it as a late pick, and obviously that's paid off for me. So
Yeah.
very happy.
Yeah,
Of course.
I was toying with potentially picking it because I obviously had 28 days, 28 years later last year, and it did score me very well, even though I detested the film. So hindsight, really, maybe I should have picked it again. But it's easy to say that when you look at the score because it's been the
Yes.
opposite. You'd then be sitting there going, "Well, that was a stupid pick." But
So
yeah,
this is the highest scoring. Obviously, this is still relatively early days. That score can go up or down. But I imagine it's going to stay around at least the 92, 93 mark. The highest scoring of the franchise
yeah,
with critics,
Yeah.
and also the highest scoring as an audience score. The audience score is 89.
89. Yeah, I saw that earlier.
Yeah.
Did you also appreciate my pun of he took a bite? Kind of, I felt well.
Yeah, okay, that's good. So 28 days, got 87 critics, 85 audience.
Yeah,
Weeks got 73 critics, 66 audience.
that's mental
Crazy.
as an audience score.
And years, the last year's film got 88, which is one better than 28 days, which I'd agree with. But only 63. So 28 years last year is the worst audience score,
Well, that makes
That
perfect
is,
sense.
yeah.
which is interesting.
Well,
That's still pretty crazy though.
And then we move on to Letterboxd, which is also another fan aggregation site. This one, The Bone Temple, has 4, which is a
wow.
Yeah,
very,
very
very
respectable.
good score on Letterboxd. I think anything from 4 and above is considered a fantastic film.
Yeah.
To put that into perspective, 28 Days got 3.7 or has 3.7. 28 Weeks has 2.9.
People hate that one, man.
And 28 Years from last year has 3.4, which is weird. So on Rotten Tomatoes, the audience dislike Years the most, but on Letterboxd, it's Weeks.
Yeah.
just a fun fact regarding 28 Weeks Later. I can't remember if we said it in the last review, but I was watching lots of like interviews and content, and Alex Garland came out and said that 28 Weeks Later was a great example of something does well, we'll do a sequel, and basically spinned it off. Like they're literally not even pretending that
That it
28
exists
Weeks Later
now.
exists.
Yes.
Yeah,
I actually
they're
thought
kind of
28 Weeks
like
was decent. Actually, I think I
I
prefer
I
it to
like it.
28
It's one of my
Days
favorites.
personally,
Yeah.
but
yeah, and it's funny when you think about it back in that it was led heavily by both Danny Boy and Alex Garland. So the fact that they've just come in and be like, oh yeah, fuck that
yeah,
piece of shit. I don't think it deserves the kind of hatred. Like in interviews, if that ever gets brought up, they kind of like
ignore it. Yeah.
disregard it completely. It holds a special place in my heart. I think it's got one of the best opening scenes
Yes,
to a
easily.
horror movie that I've ever seen. So yeah, but I've always found that interesting when later down the line, writers and directors will be like, nah, we're not gonna worry about that one.
I mean, they've got years to focus on now, and have they done a good job? We're about to find out what we think. So what we'll do, we'll all go through individually, giving our brief thoughts of the overall film with no spoilers. Give it brief, and then once that's done, we will have a very short intermission, as we have been doing recently. And then after that intermission, you will know that we're going into spoilers. So that will kind of be your cue to leave if you want to see this movie without being spoiled. So I think we'll start with Stephen, because you hated 28 Years Later last year, and this is
Yeah,
a direct sequel,
yeah.
directly following up from that ending from 28 Years Later last year. So I'm very interested to see if you also hate this movie, or if you love it, and does whatever you think of this movie change any of your perception of the first one? Very interested.
Okay, so obviously I went into this with reservations. I felt that I was going to enjoy it a little bit more than 28 Years Later, just from the trailer and from the early reviews. So I kind of went in sort of not, I wasn't expected as high as I went into 28 Years Later, put it that way. I kind of was like trying to keep it balanced, but kind of saying, okay, let me see what you can do here. Obviously, it not being Danny Boyle. This director, I think I read they directed Candyman, which I liked the Candyman reimagining that they did.
Do you know what else
And I can't.
she directed?
Was it Resident? It wasn't Resident Evil, was it?
No, it's The Marvels.
Oh, really?
Oh,
Yeah. And when I saw
oh,
that before
okay.
going in, I was like, oh dear.
Oh,
Oh dear.
okay.
Yeah. Not great Marvel film.
I only found out about her previous working credits after. I've not seen the Marvels, but it's certainly Candyman. I think it got like 89% on Rotten Tomatoes. But basically, I have to be really honest. I fucking loved 28 Years Later, The Bone Temple. And when I say that I loved it, I cannot use that word enough. When the credits rolled, the first thing that I did is I leaned over to Andy because we were in the same screen together, and I went, now that is how you do a 28 Years Later movie. Like, this movie was perfection on a plate in every single capacity. In answer to your question, I am going to go back and watch 28 Years Later, because I think now that we've had the second part, I wonder if I'll see it through a different lens. I still think that movie is not as good as what it should have been. My other argument, though, is that I think what part one does is it introduces us to a new world. And I think what I thought 28 Years Later was going to be wasn't actually what we got.
Yes.
So I still maintain that there were parts of it that dragged. There were some awful parts, but I'm not as scathing on the ending with the Jimmies in 28 Years Later. Spoiler alert for anyone that's not seen that. But then if you're listening to the Bone Temple, I would
You've probably
assume that
seen the
you have
first one, yeah.
seen 28 Years Later. That ending for me now doesn't hurt as much, because for what happens then in part two, I'm like, okay, that now makes absolute perfect sense. This movie is a masterpiece. There's no doubt in my mind. This is the best 28 years movie that is there. It's better than 28 Days Later. It's better than Weeks. It's better than Years. It's at the very top by some way, actually. And I would even go so far. I mean, I was praising it massively. Like, Andy saw the smile on my face from when we left the cinema till I dropped him home, to the point that I then put on the In-House in a Heartbeat, and I just had that playing in the car, driving down late, at night. And I kept playing that because it just, when you come out of the cinema screening and you're just so kind of like, everything you wanted was there and then more. It's one of the best zombie horror movies that I have ever seen, generally. And I've seen a lot. I've seen some good, some great, some shit. This is up there with the very, very best. Number of reasons for that. It kicks off and the intensity is there. That opening sequence with the Jews, which we'll probably talk in spoiler territory, but that opening sequence alone is intense. There's a specific moment where I did break the code of conduct and lead out to Andy was like, well, that's why that's an 18. You kind of get that within sort of 5 minutes of the film. The performances are absolutely extraordinary. Jack O'Connell, I mean, I've been with him since Skins and since Startup, and obviously he was great in Sinners, and he is just insane as Jimmy. This was kind of like the most evil I'd seen him since watching him in Eden Lake, where he was equally brilliant, and he was an incredible villain at the age of 16, and he has this like really amazing ability where he's so nice and presentable in real life, and he's such a sweetheart and a gentleman, but then he can go to these like really dark and twisted places, and you generally believe every single word and frame that he sort of shows. And with Jack O'Connell on his own, this movie would be amazing, but Ralph fucking Fiennes is absolutely just like knocked me out of the park. His performance, I do think he steals the show throughout the entirety of the movie. I think his name's Ian, wasn't it?
Kelson,
Yeah.
Dr. Kelson.
Dr. Kelson,
Yeah.
but I think
Yeah.
it's Ian, yeah.
Yeah,
Ian.
it's definitely Ian. Yeah.
Did you say Kelson? Sorry.
Yeah.
That's his name, Dr. Kelson.
Yeah. Dr. Kelson. Dr. Kelson absolutely steals the show through a variety of what happens in the first act. Because at the start of the movie, the movie kind of goes, and I don't think this is a spoiler, but it goes down kind of two sort of stories. And I was thinking I was going to lean more to one than the other. And then how they bring them both together, I just think is so clever. I think the story from Alex Garland is like, when he writes on point, he is a fantastic like screenwriter, and it's building on the promise of the rage virus and potentially finding ways of combating it in this film, which we kind of got a little bit in 28 weeks later, but then in that story it then goes overseas, where obviously now they kind of just taken all that bit out and just continued it for 28 years. I think I can't remember the actor's name who plays the kid who's
Alfie
main
Williams?
protagonist.
Is that his name?
Yeah. What's his name in the film? I'm terrible.
That's what I thought it was,
Spike,
Alfie Williams.
It's Spike in the film.
Oh, sorry.
Spike in the film.
Yeah, Spike.
Spike. I
Alfie's
mean, I thought he was quite good in 28 Years Later, but this is also a great movie where he kind of stands up and be counted. There's one specific sequence towards the end of the film that is just it's mad, but it's one of the best things I've seen at the cinema. I sort of put it on par with like Eddie playing the guitar from Stranger Things series 4. That kind of level of I can't believe they're doing this, and I don't understand how this is working, but it's working. This is also one of the most like violent movies I've seen in so long. I mean, there were moments that reminded me of like Saw and Hostel, into that kind of territory with what like the Jimmies were doing. And then you kind of sit there and you think, wow, this is an amazing film. And then you get to the final scene, and I was like, oh my God, just when I think this movie doesn't give me any more, I kind of expected what happened at the end, which I can't wait for us to talk about, was going to happen. But the way they did that, and then a specific choice of music that ends the movie, I was like, yeah, this is absolutely perfection on a plate. So yeah, I absolutely loved this film. I'm going to go rewatch it. I think I'm going to go and watch it in 4DX because they're showing it in 4DX. I think that will be quite a fun experience. I'm not quite sure how that's going to happen. Like when people are getting absolutely like destroyed, it's like, are you going to get the sensation that you're getting tortured? Maybe, I don't know. But it's going to be one that I think the more and more you watch it, the better and better it will get. And it makes up a lot for how unhappy I was with 28 Years Later, which maybe I might up my score watching it a second time, which I did say in my review. I did say that the caveat to all of this is that it will expand in the next film, and maybe some of the things that I'm not happy with will be rectified. It's not totally out of the woods, because I still think it could have been a better film than what it should have been. Nia DaCosta, though, she directs this absolutely perfectly. Absolutely perfectly. The timing, the pacing, the intensity, the scares, the shocks. Just, yeah, there's not enough words that I have, although I've used a lot of words there, not enough words to describe how amazing this movie was. The only other thing that I did think about, because we spoke about it briefly when we were talking about the film, you know, the set design where basically all the Jimmys are essentially based on Jimmy Savile's appearance. And we were talking like that no one, like when the Doctor meets Jimmy, sorry,
No
spoiler
one
alert
questions
there.
it.
But like no one goes, well, you look a bit like Jimmy Savile.
Yeah.
And I thought, well, hang on a minute. The world kind of came to an end in, I don't know, 2002. But we only found out about Jimmy Savile in like the 2010s. So in this alternative world,
Oh no, that's why
Jimmy,
they dress as him, because they
yeah,
don't know. Yeah.
no one knows.
Yeah.
So of course no one's going to go up and be like, oh, you know, you look a bit like Jimmy Savile.
I
If
still
they
think
had
they could have
found
done
out,
it though, because people still know who he
do you think?
is. Yeah, they know who he is.
But,
They don't know
but
what
that,
he did, but they know who he is.
yeah, but at that time, would you necessarily like question it in sort of a general way?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
Because he had a style,
Like-
didn't he? It's like if I
Yeah, they'd be
dressed
Yeah.
like,
up
why
like, I
the
don't
fuck you
know.
dressed up?
Yeah, no,
can't
I
think of
suppose
any
It could be
I just
anyone.
think
right
It
now.
could be like Teenage
Yes.
Mutant Ninja Turtles, for example. People be like,
Yeah.
why the fuck you dressed up as those?
Yeah.
Like, it
Oh,
could be
okay.
anything.
I was just kind of sitting there pondering on the idea that no one at any point mentions that. I did think Ian was going to maybe say
I thought
something.
he was, yeah.
But when he didn't, but then in my head I'm thinking, in this alternative world, like at what point did the infection happen? Because there was a time where Jimmy Savile kind of went into like the background. People forgot about him. So
Yeah, but
it
someone
could
like
have been
Dr.
that
Kelson, I don't think would, because like he's
Yeah.
of the right age.
of the right
Yeah.
age, sure. But I do think it's a very interesting like choice of design. The fact that no one acknowledges it. It's kind of like that elephant in the room.
I reckon
And
there's
I
a
think-
I
deleted
don't think
scene. I reckon there's a deleted
How-
scene where he does. They must have thought about that.
Yeah, maybe. But like
Yeah.
half the time, like he obviously introduces them as the Jimmys.
Yeah,
Like
this-
people probably like they don't question it because they introduce themselves. It's like
We're getting
They
into
probably think
dangerous
they're fucked
territory
up,
here with
it's like-
spoilers. So
Yeah.
let's Stephen,
Yeah,
score
yeah.
out of 10.
This is absolutely a 10 out of 10. This is the easiest 10 out of 10 that I've given probably on this podcast.
I'm going to call you Mr. 10 out of 10 soon. The amount of 10s you give.
Out of
Um,
all the 10s, this was like, as soon as I came out, I was like, this is a masterpiece. And I don't think I've ever said that about any of the films that I've given 10 out of 10s before, in terms of like, there's not a single scene or moment in this film that I would change. Be curious to see if, like, because I've got a feeling where Andy's going, because the way we spoke about it, unless he's thought about it a bit more in the coming days. But like yourself, Welchy, if there's anything that you want to pick holes in. But for me, it's faultless, absolutely faultless piece of work.
Go on then, Andy. What do you think?
I will keep this brief. Stevens basically said everything that I thought about this film in terms of it's definitely the best 28 years film, like definitely the best one in the franchise for me. There was a decent amount of gore. There's also comedy in this as well. Certain things like when they mentioned the NHS, a particular scene, quite found
Yeah.
that quite that funny. The way that Jack brings his character to life and the way that he comes across, and just the way he speaks, like it's just so entertaining to listen to him speak. And the fact that we've now got a saying from this film as well with how's that, it's like if you get something like that from a film, you know it's done well because that's stuck with you. And I don't think I'm ever going to stop saying that. If someone says something to me, I'm hoping they've watched it because I just want to reply with that response. But yeah, the characters, obviously Ray Fiennes as Dr. Kelson was incredible. Them both linking together as well throughout the film, and obviously the different stories. And then when it gets to that point, yeah, it's incredible. There's so many things I want to talk about spoiler-wise in this film, but yeah, overall, great performances from the kid as well. I don't think he had. Hopefully, I want to see more from Alfie as Spike in the third film. I feel like with both the films, he's sort of like still maturing, and obviously in a world that's quite scary. So I want to see sort of his character arc develop a bit more in the third film. But overall, the performances from all the characters in this as well, as the other Jimmy as well. I can't remember all their sort of
Mm.
nicknames, but the main girl as Jimmy as well, her performance was pretty good. And yeah, she's also in the Captain America TV show. I don't know if you recognize the I don't know if you watched it, the Winter Soldier
Yeah,
and the
I've seen it.
Falcon.
Yeah, I've seen it.
Yeah, she plays the main enemy in that. Well, you think sort of main enemy.
I have to
She's like the
remind
main girl
myself.
with
Yeah.
powers. Um,
Okay.
Obviously she looks very different in the Bone
Yeah, I was
Temple
gonna
with their
say.
disguises and stuff. So if you actually Google what she looks like, you might recognize them all from that TV show.
Yeah.
But yeah, all of their performances were incredible. The flashback scenes were great. I can't wait to dive more into those in spoiler territory. But yeah, this was one of my favorite horror movies and favorite zombie movies ever. And as well, the music they use throughout with particular themes as well that we'll go dive into a bit more, like the way that films have started to use music. Well, not just started, but I've started to notice it a lot more doing the
Yeah.
podcast with you guys, and obviously Stephen going on about music. Like the way that in recent films that I've watched, horror movies, the music is on point, and Stinner's been a perfect example with Jack being in that as well. Like he's having a great time at the moment with horror movies, and I wonder if we get 28 years later, the third film next year. I don't know if it's due out next year or not, but if we get that next year, he's going to have 3 films in a row. Hopefully, they're all going to be top hits. But yeah, it was a great movie. I can't. I tried to. I know you're going to ask my score.
Yeah.
I was honestly thinking through every single scene, trying to think, how can I score this film down? Not because I want to score it down, because I just want to make sure I'm going to be right in my score that I give it. And I was thinking, there's nothing about this film that I disliked. The pacing was good. It didn't feel like an almost 2-hour film. The characters were good. The gore was good. All the characters linking up were good. It was well written. The ending was really good. It's a 10 out of 10. It's a 10 out of 10 for me.
10 out of 10.
Gave it
Nice.
that box.
See,
It's a 10.
when you mentioned about the music aspect, and again we'll probably dive into it more in spoiler territory, it had like a Guardians of the Galaxy thing going on, which I fucking love. There are music moments, jukebox tracks that are used in this film that should not work in this kind of world, but they absolutely do. And I love when particularly horror movies do that, where you have a scene where something really terrible is going on and it's set to a really upbeat, funky song. You've got two things that shouldn't work well together, but they do. So and that added all the general bits of music that is thrown throughout. I'm glad that I'm broadening your music horizons, because I always bang on about it. It's like the first thing that I'll go, like when we're watching movies, I go like, did you know that bit of music, or did you see this bit of music?
So this lady, Erin Kellyman, is also in the Solo movie, Star Wars.
Yeah, she is.
Okay,
Yeah.
cool. Just making sure you knew that. I don't recognize her really from the show. I'd have to like see her in it to probably even
She's
know.
literally,
Yeah.
she is one of the main characters in the show. Like, she plays the main enemy. Like,
I just didn't like that show. So that's
yeah,
probably
I know
why.
you did like it. But, yeah.
Okay, so 28 years later, The Bone Temple. This is easily my favorite movie of 2026.
Wow,
It's
that's
also
a
my
hard take.
first movie of
You watched,
2026. No, but in all seriousness, it is by far and away the easiest and best movie of this franchise. Like, it's not even close. And I'm someone who loved 28 Years Later last year. I gave it an 8 last year. This takes that and runs with it at like 100 miles an hour. It is a fantastic movie. We was watching something earlier. I don't know what we was watching, and the trailer come on. I was like, "Oh, what a film! Like, what a film!" I was like, "Oh my god, what a film!" Just seeing Jack O'Connell. Is that how do you pronounce it? Jack O'Connell?
Yeah, Jack O'Connell. Jack O'Connell.
This one,
man, what an actor! What an actor!
Yeah.
I am stunned by him. Every time I see him, he's unbelievable. And Ray Fiennes, obviously, we know how good he is.
Yeah,
he's probably the best I've seen him in this. I don't know, like he's unbelievable.
I knew he was a good actor, but not to this level. And I've seen him in good movies.
You're not a
Like, do
Harry
you not
Potter
agree?
fan. If you've seen Harry Potter, you'd know he was
Yeah.
good.
Okay.
But
But this is Ray Fiennes that I've never seen before. And
yeah,
I was just like, and when I say like he steals the show from Jack O'Connell, that is saying something considering how amazing he is in this film.
see, I don't know if I don't think he does personally. I think
Do you
they're
not?
on par, if not. I think Jack steals the show a little bit, tiny bit. Like it's so close. I don't
I
think
think
anyone
there's
steals
one
it from each
scene.
other.
There's
Oh,
there's
I
just
know
one
that
scene
scene.
that
Yes, that
changes it
scene's
for me.
incredible. But Jack throughout is just terrifying. Like,
Oh,
he's
yeah.
an
Yeah.
absolute. Anyway, get into those spoilers, but you touched on it. The music in this is perfection. The way they use music in this is absolutely unbelievable. Um, Multiple scenes I could talk about, which will go into the spoilers. I'm not giving it a 10.
It's close though.
I can't say this is better than Sinners for me, but it's fucking close. I think the best compliment I can give this film is that if this would come out last year, this would have been second place for me in my top 10. It
Yeah.
would have gone just above Together and just below Sinners. It's that
But what
good
you
of a
marking
movie.
it down for then?
I'm marking it down. I think Alfie's character is let down a lot here.
Okay. Yeah.
He did such good work in the first film, and they just kind of ignored him really in this film. I wouldn't say ignored.
Yeah.
He's there, but they did like no real growth in his character. And I feel like he could have done and been more. I know that's their choice. They wanted to focus on the other two. Fine.
Mm-hmm.
But if he's going to continue into the third film, I feel like we're going to this third film. We're still not that
Can
into his character.
Can I just to challenge that, which is absolutely fine, because I don't think you've given a 10 on the movie side, so it takes a lot, because the fact that
I've
you
got
give
more to go
Sinners
on
a
as well,
10.
not just that.
Oh shit. Okay.
Yeah.
But so they basically come out and said that the third movie is about redemption. So that the majority of Spike's character development is going to take full focus in part 3. So does that not change?
No, because why is there no
No.
development
Okay, fair
in this
enough.
film? Like, I
No,
get having most
Yeah.
of it in one,
He's
but
still like the scared little boy, isn't
he might as well not been in this film. If that's the case, like have him somewhere else. Like his dad isn't in this film. Fine, if he's not in the film, he's not in the film. But I'm
No,
not saying
fair enough.
he was good. He did what he did good. There's nothing against him as an actor. I just wish he had a bit more to do. He had a couple of scenes here and there, but what I also think is, and I get it, this is a film about the people are scarier than the zombies. The people are more dangerous than the zombies. We need more of them though. There's not enough. I didn't see enough of them. There's one bit where spoilers. We're going to spoilers in a minute. There's one bit in the train again. That was a good bit.
Yeah.
But other than that, one other thing I can think of when the girl's walking on her own when she takes one out, I can't think of many other scenes where they were.
Yeah, there's not a lot.
There's not a lot of them, and I get it. I do get it. The Walking Dead does this. You end up talking about the people more than the zombies.
Yeah.
But in The Walking Dead, they're always there. There's always a threat. There's always something, and I just lost that part of it. I'm nitpicking here. I loved this movie. And the other thing I can't give it a 10 for is I just don't, and I think it's because they didn't develop his character enough. I don't care about the characters enough.
Okay.
I never felt worried for anyone. I didn't care if anyone died. And I get one thing. No, that's very much spoiler. I'll wait. I'll wait till the end. But yeah, I will say that I just need that emotional connection to get to the 10, 10, 10. And I think I had something the same with the Sinners. Sinners, I couldn't give it a 10 because I loved so many characters in that film, but I wasn't like emotionally attached to them. And I think I just my favorite films ever have everything, and this was so close.
It is particularly challenging, particularly horror, to get that
It is.
emotional punch.
And
You
Sinners
can
couldn't do it.
do it, but it is a challenge. The only thing I would say regarding the sort of the infected not being present, which I can understand, but I do think that I don't have an issue with that, only because we're 28 years from the initial infection. So like if this was at the very, very beginning, I could understand it more. And even there are some people that criticize 28 days later that it becomes more of the people rather than the infected. Like if you think about Jim's rampage at the end of the film, I keep calling them walkers. There are infected that are involved in that, but there could be more. And I've always felt that 28 years later, the franchise of itself is kind of trying to juggle that fine act between the infected being problems, but also people becoming scarier than the zombies. So I can understand that you want it to kind of have your cake and eat it on both sides.
It just,
But
I
I
think
also
28 Weeks
think,
did it really well, personally. I think that was the film where I felt the most nervous about the infected, quite
Oh yeah, that
yeah,
was
literally.
the most intense film out of the
Yeah.
lot.
And
yeah,
I think if it
there
just
was
had that
no,
bit more, and don't get me wrong, even if you have them here and the
yeah,
Jimmies are just absolutely fucking them all up because they can, fine. But just
mm,
Yeah,
have some of those cool moments. Have some of the more. At the end of
mm,
the fucking first film, we see them go basically almost like Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, crazy on
yeah.
them. And I was thinking we're gonna see
yeah,
more
Yeah.
of that shit. You don't really see that. I think
No, you get a couple of
I
scenes,
promise you,
but
I am nitpicking, but
yeah.
I just I didn't walk away from there thinking masterpiece 10 out of 10. I walked away thinking that was unbelievable. I was very close. I'm giving it a 9.5, which is
oh, that is very close.
very,
You
very
are a
close
har-
to that.
you are a harsh critic on this podcast,
One day we'll hit a
honestly.
10. Hopefully it's
One
fucking Project Hail Mary, but I'm not
like
saying. Also, that trailer come up again, this film, and I thought it looked better. Like, it's the same trailer, but this time I was like, oh, actually, I think they might be onto something here.
Get more hype for
Yeah,
it.
this might be good.
is it the
I
one
don't know,
that when
man.
they're
Still looks
utilizing
good.
the space version of Champagne Supernova
Yeah,
by Oasis? Every time I watch that, I'm just like, yeah, this is
it
great.
is looking good. And I was noticing things that I remembered from the book, and I was like, okay, yeah, they might be. Anyway,
Yeah, yeah.
different story. We're going to take a very short intermission. Obviously, you just heard our scores, 2 10s and a 9.5. We're now going to take a very short intermission, and when we come back, we will be spoilering the shit out of this movie. So if you don't want to be spoiled, then now is probably the perfect time to leave. If you don't mind, or if you've already seen it, stick around. We've got a lot to say. So yeah, be right back. And we are back, the Late Night Movie Podcast, with our review of 28 Years The Bone Temple. As you just heard, we gave it 2 10s and a 9.5. So we obviously love it a lot. We've got about 20 or, yeah, about just under 20 minutes to do spoilers. A lot to talk about here. I guess, where do you want to start? I think the scene that really, I realized this film was a different level was the barn.
Train?
No, the
Oh, the
barn
barn.
scene.
Oh, okay.
Fuck
Oh,
It's a
me.
different level in terms of gore, yeah.
yeah.
I was wincing, looking
But
away. I was like,
Yeah.
they're not going to show it, are they?
really,
Then they showed it. I was like, oh my
they
god.
did, yeah.
I was telling
Skinning them alive.
I was telling Addy about this on sort of the drive home, that what I give this movie great props for is that it kind of did its homework. Because again, being such a horror fan, you kind of I'm always interested in like the real life horrors that have happened in the past. So like I know of all the sort of real brutal torture methods that were used in sort of the 18 to 1900s. One of them I told Addy about, which for a different day, regarding a chair, but the other one was flaying, which is literally the act of just skinning somebody alive. And when that sequence in the barn is kicking off, I don't wince a lot, but I was absolutely wincing, because just the way it's kind of like you want the camera to pan away and it just doesn't. Where like, and where I said that we're getting to the levels of like Saw and Hostel, but in Saw and Hostel, it is done in a very over dramatic way. There's
Mhm.
no real intensity behind it. You're kind of like, it's, oh, we're doing this to deliberately shock you. Where this is shocking, but it's serving as a story plot moment
It's
of
the brutality
these
of it.
Jimmies are
Yeah.
absolutely brutal, and in their mind they are seriously just thinking that this is their way of, like, charity. I will now no ever
Ugh.
longer think of that word charity without thinking, if someone said, oh, we're doing this
Yeah.
for you for charity, no, you
Do you
won't,
know, that's
mate.
because of his delivery of it, though. He is
Yes.
Yeah, yeah.
so unbelievable in
he,
everything he does in this movie.
he
I cannot praise
even
Jack
the
McKenna enough.
even the sequence in the house, like with that
Yeah, oh,
family,
fuck me.
where
So
where
good.
she, like, I mean, already you've had the intense moment where they're in the woods,
Fighting.
right? And
Yeah, yeah.
they
Ah,
leave him to be like infected.
yeah.
That was the other thing, where the alpha storms in one of the first sequences, and he just tears a guy's head completely off. And you
Mm.
even see like his spine vertebrae, and I was
Yeah.
like, oh fuck me.
Well, then it
This
skips to him eating the brain, doesn't it, as
Mm.
well?
Yeah. And I was like, okay, this movie's absolutely not messed about in any shape or form. And so in the house, but he has this sort of delivery where it's really calm, really mellow, and then he just casually comes out with, well, you do realise that we're going to have to kill you all now.
Yeah.
It's like,
It's the bit though when he
sorry.
bangs the table. What I
Yeah,
love
everybody
about
just
what this
silent.
movie does is
Yeah,
the Jimmys worship him, whatever, but you can see they're terrified of him.
Yeah,
Like he
yeah,
bangs on the table and they shit themselves, not just the people they've kidnapped. They shit themselves. And
we,
then when they ask him to they do the charity and he says, "I'll take off their shirt," you can see them all go,
yeah,
yeah,
"Oh no!" Like they don't want to do this, but they're fucking
yeah,
terrified. And the way they each individually, which is obviously fair play to their acting skills as well, but you could tell, other than probably the
yeah,
girl who was nuts, who ended up not surviving the burn
oh
scene.
yeah,
Um, she was
yeah,
probably
Divina,
the
or whatever her
most
name is.
irrational, crazy one. Um, but you could just tell they were just fucking scared of him, like we were as an audience. It
yeah.
was
Yeah,
phenomenal.
even the opening sequence where Spike has to do
Fight them,
battle,
yeah.
and he like
Yeah, to survive.
slices the leg, but then goes into the artery. That was the point where I was like, turned down. Oh yeah, this is why it's an 18. And it's just like the whole sort of moment of that sets the tone for
Hmm.
everything else that is to follow. And I I also joked about it at the end. I was like, it's safe to assume that all the Jimmys, particularly like Jimmy himself, is completely and utterly deranged. The fact that he's worshipping Satan, and like because also it's interesting that civilization's falling down. So people with mental health issues have got no
No
access to
help,
any
yeah.
medication or any treatment or any symptoms. Like that Kelso kind of tries to calm down, but he realizes that okay, I've got someone here with severe mental health. I've got to kind of play to their strengths,
Well, he says,
kind
doesn't
of
he, to
reel them
Samson? He
in.
says, "This is the first time I've feared for my life in a long time," and it was
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah,
him. It wasn't
yeah.
Samson.
No, it's no, yeah.
and
Literally
and
talking to
you
a zombie, and he's not scared of the zombie. He's scared of the fucking human.
And you fucking would if you like after the way you were speaking to him within five
Yeah.
minutes. You're like, I don't think you're okay, buddy. I
Mm.
think you've got a couple of issues.
Yeah.
Uh,
At,
but I love that.
yeah. At first, I was like, obviously, because when you see the Jimmys and obviously them like following Sir Jimmy Crystal, I was thinking like, are they just going along with this? Like, because they're like a safe group, they can fight off infected whenever they want to. But then there's a point, obviously, when Jimmy, who gets revealed as Kelly, obviously her name at the end,
Yeah.
she's talking to Spike and she's like, do you not get the sense that she's just talking bullshit? And at that point, I'm thinking, okay, so they actually do like,
They
well, maybe
believed
not her,
everything.
but the
Yeah.
others, they like actually believe in all that Saturn stuff. And it's like, fucking hell, like, it is
Well, even
crazy.
she did.
But
She
then,
still thought that was
yeah,
the devil. She just didn't believe that he was his
Yeah,
yeah,
dad.
yeah. But then me and Steven saw here, so well, I guess if you live in a world where like zombies are real,
Someone
you
would be
can
able to
yeah,
believe
convince you that
like,
that's how it's happened. Yeah,
yeah.
easily.
And then obviously when they see Dr. Kelson, he's like, yeah, that's Nick. He's like, let me just go, because he knows in his mind he's talking absolute shit. So he goes over there. He's like,
You
just
could,
let me talk to Nick.
yeah, his delivery of it
Yeah,
was perfect because you could tell in that moment he was like, "Fuck."
yeah.
yeah. He's like, I have to come up
Yeah.
with
I think
something
that's
now
one of those
to like
moments where
prove
you
this
laugh.
real.
He said something. I can't remember exactly what he said, but he said something that I did laugh out loud, and it was kind of what a normal person would say in that situation. But it was like really quick. He delivers it with such a straight sort
Yeah.
of tone, like with the NHS line, that it's just so funny. I can't remember if he was like that or if he did any bits like that in 28 Years Later, but maybe because I was so
As in Dr. Kelson.
annoyed. Yeah, did he have a couple of like moments like that? I
No,
always
it was
find Rafe
more,
ones.
it was much more
Yeah,
morbid,
he's
wasn't it? Because he was obviously with the mum who had
Yeah,
cancer, and he was.
sure.
I loved all that in the first one, but it
And
goes another level here.
he was in Bruges, wasn't he?
Yeah,
The
he's
Colin
brilliant in
Farrell film.
Bruges. Yeah,
He is yeah, it reminded me of like I need to go back and revisit that because if you want sort of Rafe vibes playing that very deadbeat, straight talking, but says something that kind of can peel off the wall,
very
but
different to
equally make
this.
you laugh. Yeah, that is like if you haven't seen that, Andy, I'd highly recommend it because that
I've
movie
definitely
is
seen
just
it a long time
oh,
ago.
okay.
But
Um, but I just and like now that we're in spoiler territory, the music set pieces when he is set to Duran Duran and he's dancing with the alpha, like it shouldn't work, but it fucking
My
does.
favorite
Like
bit was the Radiohead one. The Radiohead song, "It's Meant
yes,
to Be Here," whatever it's called. I can't remember what it's called.
yeah, yeah,
Um, I was like, I've heard this song before. That's not my kind of music before. I'm starting to get into that kind of music now, but I was like,
yeah,
why is this working so well? This doesn't feel
yeah,
like it should work. Obviously, the best one was the performance at the end. But that is
Yeah,
just
yeah, 100%.
fucking incredible. I think we're talking about 28 Weeks Later having the best intro to a movie in a long time.
Yeah.
I think we're going to struggle to find a movie that ends as well as this movie.
Oh,
Yes,
It's
yeah.
so
definitely.
good.
You've got
The-
two. Go on, Andy. Sorry.
No, I was just gonna say I found it quite funny as well. At some point, they refer to Dr. Kelson as like the Dark Lord as well, and obviously him playing Voldemort in Harry
And there was
Potter.
points I was
I
like,
don't know.
kind of looks like him again.
Yeah, yeah, it goes like dark, and he's like obviously dancing around like the skulls and stuff, and I'm like, that sort of looks like Voldemort a bit. Like he's got that down to a T.
I think that because you've got sort of the climax with him dancing to Iron Maiden, and when I was saying earlier, which now makes sense, where like Guardians of the Galaxy would be set in this science fiction world set to an 80s soundtrack, and then Eddie on the guitar with in Stranger Things series 4, that moment, and sort of like again like the never ending story moment in season 3, those are two moments where like a piece of music or a song shouldn't work,
But
and it
works perfectly,
absolutely does. And I just felt that we got to that moment where he comes out and he delivers an unbelievable. I mean, I'm not a fan of Iron Maiden or that kind of
Me neither.
music, but it makes total sense that in a post-apocalyptic world where civilization's falling away, of course, people would go to a song regarding 666 and the devil, and a perfect choice, because Dr. Kelson obviously has got a wide array of music knowledge, and he's used that to his advantage to lure them in. And if you didn't know any better and you believe that, you would look at that and go, absolutely, that's fucking Satan. He's
Yeah,
like the way that he screams and he performs and then he jumps down from the skulls. I was like, this is like one of the most outrageous and mad things I've seen on a cinema screen, but just absolutely hits the money.
Yeah.
Everything, and it could have easily been ruined. It kind of, I felt when 28 years later that scene happened so out of the blue and didn't fit with the movie. I might now be different now that I know more about the Jimmies. But this never felt out of place at the Bone Temple because it had that undercurrent running all the way through of at any moment madness can just hit. So it blended perfectly and it made complete and utter sense.
I think it just shows as well how intelligent Dr. Kelson was, not just with like the medicine side of things as well, and obviously working with Samson, that whole story as well with can this infection be cured, but then also how he uses the whole Sir Jimmy Crystal's like own story against him to get him like crucified. Like he plays that so well. Obviously, once he realizes it's Spike under one of the masks, he then thinks like, shit, what can I do? And within that second, he's then using his own story, like what he's trying to pretend to be against him, and then makes all the Jimmies turn against him. It's like, it's just so smart.
I want to go on to the Samson bit because I think it's an important bit. But before we do, the end of that scene was so clever when they had, obviously we're in spoiler territory, but this is literally the biggest spoiler. When they hang Jack Connell, what is there, Jimmy? Sir Lord Jimmy, upside down
Jimmy
on
Crystal.
the upside down crucifix.
Yeah,
and you see Samson walk in with the horns.
Yeah.
It looked to make him look like the devil. I was thinking, oh my god, is he just captured like caught a deer and just put the horns on his head? I was thinking that. And I was thinking, it's fucking genius. But then obviously you cut to the other point of view, and that's just how Jack's seeing him, either through his psychosis because he's seeing things that aren't there, or because he was this massive figure that looked a bit like a devil.
Yeah,
clever.
So also, like, very quickly on that, because obviously another huge spoiler is that Dr. Kelson doesn't make it out alive.
I would say that's probably one of the things I'm most disappointed with, is that we're probably not going to see them two again.
No,
but technically, you don't know who's dead though, because I know he gets stabbed, but he gets carried away by Samson.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
He could still be alive.
I don't want him to go down that territory. I don't want him to go down to he's not really dead. I don't know. I've got to be careful.
We spoke about this in the car, and my theory behind it, I kind of lean more towards Andy's thought process about he may not be. I mean, I would say there's 60% chance that he's dead. There's this 40% chance because obviously he's taught Samson about how he's being cured with all of the medicines. I know he said that in one bit that the medicines were running scarce, so that kind of debunks the theory that I'm about to put out there.
But that was just one of them. He ended up giving him tablets was different.
Yes, he did.
Yeah, it was the morphine that was low. He said he's got about 2 weeks of morphine because that's what he used to knock him out. But
I also wonder, like, if you're dead, you can't then be. You have to be alive to be infected with the rage virus, I believe. But unless it's mutated, that he could somehow infect him with the rage virus and then give him the medication that he gave to Samson,
Oh, God,
maybe.
okay, yeah.
But I'm just thinking that they could run down that route. But then, as part 3 is all
That'd
about
be pretty
vengeance,
crazy if they do that.
it would be. But as part 3 is more going to be centered on another character that we're sure we'll get onto, and they've come out and said that we've had 2 quite dark and brutal chapters. The 3rd chapter is about this sort of renaissance, and they could change it completely. But that is my only answer. That would make sense if they were to adopt that, because he does teach Samson a lot about the medical uses, and it's the first time that someone with the rage virus and alpha becomes part human as well as being infected.
So let's go on to that. What did you two think of that whole situation? Because that was the thing I was expecting one of you two, probably more you, Stephen, to be like, this isn't how this series should be going. It should be going in this direction. They should be curing it. I just had a feeling that you would take, and I almost did. There was a point where I was thinking they've got to really balance this well, because if they just start curing everyone, I'm gonna be fucking pissed off. But I think they did it really well. And they already hinted at it in the last one, because he was drugging them to slow them down, and so it wasn't like they just sprung it on us. And he was using the iodine to, because he couldn't get the infection.
Yeah, he was.
So he was obviously, they already told us that he was clever, and he was effectively working on this forever. I liked it. What I don't understand is how Samson's going to stay like this, because he can't get hold of the medicine anymore.
That's a good point.
It can't be a one thing and done. It can't.
No, I don't have a problem with it, in the respect that it's been 28 years. So a lot has been learned about the rage virus and obviously the alphas. Obviously, you need to be intelligent to do that, like Dr. Kelpson was. So I don't have an issue with that. They wouldn't be able to cure it on a wide
scale,
scale, because civilization has completely fallen to hell. Like that, they would have to have done that in the very, very early stages.
The only way I think they could do it is if he somehow got a message overseas. I don't know how he would do it, saying, "Look, I have cured it. Here's my proof. Help us," and then they come and help. But I just don't think that's possible.
This trilogy is taking place on a sort of remote island in the Scottish Highlands. We don't know the status of like what London was like with 28 Days Later and what's happened overseas, because obviously they've gone away from the notion that it went. But say if that is still the same, then the entire world has been infected by rage. So
no, we do know, because they
said the world hasn't been affected, because the Swedish guy came over, didn't he?
Yeah, sadly, they had to vote. Yeah, in 28 years later.
So see. Again, I need to go back, because half that movie I was so annoyed with, I forgot. So yeah, that basically then confirmed that they completely botched the idea that it went over. But don't worry, we sorted it, guys. But we still don't know the status of everything else in the UK, whether they're going to pick that up in part 3. Because if there are people out there,
the only thing I think they could do with like the curing thing is like go to where Aaron Taylor Johnson character lives. Like you have like those little areas isolated away. They could like start by making sure I just defeated my whole point. I was thinking like they could go to those areas and start curing people, but they're like sort of safe at the moment anyway.
Yeah.
It's not but we have to also remember it's not a complete cure. He's still infected with rage, because he could only briefly communicate, and it just stopped him from going over to people and basically ripping their heads off.
That's what he realized, was that most of this is just psychosis, and he gave him the psychosis medicine, which I imagine, I don't know, I'm not an expert, you need to keep that prescription up. It's not just a one.
Absolutely. Yeah.
It'll be interesting to see if that changes with in the 3rd film with Samson, if you then see him revert back.
Do they even
or
bother?
Does he find
is that kind of story done, saying like there is a cure, but unfortunately because of this world, it's never gonna.
Dr. Kelson's dead, or
I don't know.
Or is he dead and is there a cure? But that's what makes it so interesting, because now with the 3rd film, we have no idea like what direction it's going to take.
No, we know who's involved, obviously.
We know who's involved, but like what's the 3rd film going to be about with those particular characters?
But yeah, I mean, normally sometimes I am quite picky when it comes to that, but generally it didn't. I found that fascinating. I also
that whole train scene, like that flashback scene,
that
was absolutely.
It
was so emotional.
when we went into it, I thought again, oh, I'm going to lean more towards like the Jimmys, but this whole Dr. Kelson and the Alpha, I'm probably not going to like as much. And then we got to about, I don't know, 20 minutes in, I was like, okay, no, actually, what Dr. Kelson's did with Samson is actually pretty fucking cool. And then I'm like, well, how are you going to bring him with the Jimmys? And then it just blended together. I was like, okay, yeah, you've got me here. This is
I
this is
think
unreal.
the moment I started getting a bit like they've got to be careful with this is when he said moon. I
Yeah,
was like, oh dear. Okay, if he's just gonna
Yeah,
start talking now, I think I'm gonna have a
yeah,
problem with this. But because he actually went on to realize, because he was about to kill him, essentially, wasn't he? Literally about to kill him.
yeah,
yeah,
yeah. I put him down. Yeah,
Then he was like, actually, this might be psychosis. There might be a cure.
yeah,
I preferred that rather than if he just kept drugging him and he eventually said moon big or something. I'd have been like, oh no, this is
yeah,
just a
yeah.
bit silly.
yeah.
I I was sitting there thinking, come on, don't ruin this for me, and they didn't. I was happy with it.
No. Also, Andy,
Yeah.
very quickly, what was the quote? Did you say that if that you were saying earlier? Because
How's
I'm
that?
trying to place.
How's that?
How's that?
How's that?
Oh,
That's how they just always say that.
oh, oh, yeah. Okay, yeah, fair enough.
And then all the Jimmys just say it back to him. They're like, "How's
It's
that?"
so good,
Yeah,
Ah,
it's just
so
so
good.
funny.
yeah,
Where did he? I'm trying to, because that's a cricket term, isn't it? You know when they is that what they say? When they get
I
someone out,
don't
they
watch
normally go, "How's
cricket.
that?" That's what I always think. Or maybe they're saying he's out rather than how's that. But anyway, that's
we're
what
Yeah,
it
already like
reminded me
I
of.
know.
we're a variation away from Shorty and Scary Movie One going, "What's
Yeah,
up?"
Yeah, yeah,
similar.
pretty much. Yeah,
We need to wrap up. I'm just trying to think if there's anything of a major. I mean, the barn scene's the major brutal scene. We've talked about the
Yeah,
yes, yeah.
performance from Ray Fiennes at the end, the
I think it's
Samson
just the
stuff.
end,
Oh,
the
of
very
course.
end
Yeah,
Very
scene.
sorry. Yeah,
Encanto,
of
yeah.
course.
With obviously,
Yeah, which is probably the only bit that we need to
We're
talk about.
reintroduced to Cillian Murphy's character, which I can't remember the name of him
Yes,
because the first film
Jim.
was
Jim.
shit. Jim.
It's Jim.
Um,
You should know
What? Whoa, whoa, whoa! The first 28 days later was not shit.
it's the worst of the four films for me. It's the worst of the four.
Okay,
Um,
interesting.
no, it's not a shit film. It's just the worst of the four. We're reintroduced to him and his daughter.
Yes,
Yeah,
his
it's
daughter.
his
Yeah.
daughter.
How do we know this?
So one of the because at the end of 28 days
the
later,
lady he's with.
Jim and
Yeah.
Selena,
Yeah.
and that house is the house that you see at the end of 28 days later with
Oh,
the
it
parachute.
is. You're right.
Yeah. So the thing for me,
So
I
he's
was
been
like,
there
right,
for 28
movie.
years.
Yeah,
Fuck.
Yeah,
yeah, they
technically.
That's cool.
because so
That's
there's a
even cooler
couple
than I
of
thought.
things. This is why I'm so excited for part 3. I knew that Jim was going to be there, but in my head I was thinking, I bet we're going to get like one still shot and he'll be mainly focused for part 3. You know, like I don't know, they open the door or like I don't know, I expected Alfie Williams's character to kind of get into the path, but maybe they like he opens the door and says, come in,
Yeah.
and then it ends. So the fact that we got this whole sequence in their house
With his daughter, yeah.
and
yeah.
and as soon, I didn't say anything to Andy because I didn't want to ruin anything because obviously I know 28 days later like really well. I know obviously we've seen it together, but I thought I don't want to like spoil anything. But as soon as I saw that house, I was like, oh my God, that's Jim's house from 28 days later. I'm interested to see if Selena's going to be in part 3 or has she died in the 28 years?
That's my
Like,
assumption, but maybe she was just off hunting. You never know.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, I was saying this to Andy. Cillian Murphy has been an executive producer across all 3 of these movies, so he's heavily involved behind the scenes, and he's going to take centre stage for the 3rd movie. I know the actress, so Naomi Harris, is very busy doing a lot of other stuff, so I don't know if she'll be part of it. It would be amazing if she would, because imagine having like the whole Jim, Selena, and the daughter together in part 3, and just the fact that he's teaching her for an exam
that
he's setting
hosting.
before her.
Yeah, that was so funny.
And then I was thinking the cherry on the icing of this cake would be if you play In a House in a Heartbeat at the very end, because I was really pissed off that they didn't do that in 28 years later. And fuck me, they run over the sort of greenery, which I thought was near DaCosta doing a homage to the opening sequence of 28 weeks later. You know, there's a still shot that with all of the infected are running as I can't remember his name.
I know who
The
you mean,
main
the guy ran
protagonist
away.
Run Away. Dom, that's it. Because she bangs on the window and goes, Dom, help us. But there's a shot in 28 weeks later that they basically copied in the Bone Temple, which is funny considering the fact that Danny Boy and Alex Garland hate 28 weeks later, but I found it funny. And then I'm thinking you're going to end on a moment where it's like, we need to help them. And Oh, it did. We stayed to the very end of the movie though, just to hear that piece of music, because that piece of music is just reminds me of Zombie and the franchise, and I just, yeah, it was everything I wanted for a final scene, and then some.
Yeah, I mean, I'm very excited. I just don't know where they're going with it. So I need to. It's not like it comes out next year and I'm like, oh my god, I have to go and see it because I don't think it. I personally don't know if they're going to match this. This is
No, it's
a
gonna be
level
hard.
they're going to
Yeah,
really struggle to hit again. But
Yeah,
as long as they make a great movie, like a for me a year's level or even weeks, to be honest. Actually, that would be a bit of a
yeah,
downgrade. A year's level or above, I'd be buzzing. But
yeah.
I think
Well, they have to
if
conclude
Jack
it, don't
and
they?
Ray Fiennes don't come back, they're gonna miss them because
Yeah, it's gonna be
they were
hard.
I
phenomenal.
don't know, but it's Cillian Murphy though.
He's
Like,
not.
yeah,
I love Killian Murphy, but
It's just his
when sometimes
character.
you need a
His
villain. You
character's
need
not
a
the same.
villain
So
like
yeah,
Jack O'Connell. And what I will say is he's a better villain in this than he is in Sinners, and that is insane. I
yeah.
cannot
yeah,
believe I'm saying that.
But if, as I said, they've come out and said it's about like redemption. So could it be a movie that is fully focused on a survival battle against the infected? So you were saying that you wanted more
Then
of
that'd be
that.
great for me. Yeah,
If the third movie focuses solely on that and introduces us to a new villain,
yeah.
maybe their one scenario is that they take them in, but the infected get into this house that they've had for 28
And
years.
they're on the
But
run.
also, he survived for 28 years, so he knows full well what he's doing. Like he had that like assault rifle, which
Mm.
I imagine he's fully locked and loaded and stocked up. So I am curious to see how on earth, because they just all they keep saying is redemption, but that means like a million and one. Is it Spike getting redemption? Um, the other thing as well, I thought Aaron Taylor Johnson was in this film. You know, the guy
Mm.
that gets his head ripped off. He looked a little bit similar, and then
Oh,
his head got ripped off. I was like, oh no. And then he started speaking. I was like, no, that's definitely not Aaron Taylor Johnson. But I had a split moment. I don't know if you felt that, like when you
I
watched
didn't
it.
think it was
And
him.
I was
No.
like, no. My mind just wandered for a moment. Yeah, when you think, wait, I thought he wasn't in this
I'm hoping
film.
he's in the third one. I want some closure
I
with
think he
him and
will
his
be.
son. Yeah.
Yeah, I think he will. Because what happened to him at the end of 28 Days? Didn't he? Was he on the run? If I
No,
remember
he's at
no,
his
correctly.
house and he gets told about his
he just
wife
went
and that
back.
his kid's
Yeah,
fucking off.
and obviously they took in
Right.
that infected, so not infected. They took in the baby that was born
We
from
need some
the
closure on that,
infected as
by the
well.
way.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah, but how that connects with now Spike with Jim
Well,
and the
I think it's
daughter.
a good point actually. The house gets overrun. Jim has to leave for the
Yeah,
first time in 28 years, and Alfie says, "I know where we can go."
yeah.
yeah, yeah.
It
That's a
happened.
good shout. Yeah.
Have we've spoiled it?
We've
We've
spoiled the
spoiled the
beginning
next one.
of 28 years, part three.
Sorry, guys.
Any final comments before we wrap up?
Just nice. Just obviously, it's one of the first films of 2026, and I think it's a great way to start the year. For
Yeah.
me, it's obviously going to be up there as one of my favorite movies this year. I think, depending on what else we get, but it's a very good start. It was a for me. Obviously, I want to go back and watch 28 years later to see how I see that now. I think I'll see that from a different perspective. I did say to Stephen after the film, like after watching Bone Temple, I feel like the first one was setting up a lot of stuff, setting the story and setting up the characters,
Yeah.
Yeah.
um, and then just obviously adding to all of that. So I do want to go back and watch the first one to see if I like that anymore than I originally did. But yeah, overall the performances were great. It's incredible. I actually want to go watch it again. Like, it's just that good.
Do you want to come watch it before the X, Andy?
No.
Final comment, Stephen?
I mean, I've pretty much utilised over this film enough, really. I don't really have anything more to say. Just that, yeah, I am also going to go back and watch 28 Years Later. And it's maybe willing to go back and like watch 28 Days Later and weeks later. I keep, when you're kind of like a little bit on the obsessive side of like every interview I've watched with Jack O'Connell, and it takes a lot for me for a movie to do that. I sort of watch maybe like a couple of reviews and then move on. But I've been like soaked up in everything I can, and like when the trailer comes on, I'm like, what a fucking masterpiece. Yeah, I loved it.
That's an interesting
Ticket,
point.
please.
A 10 out of 10 for me does that for me as well. And I remember coming out of the cinema of Wolf of Wall Street and searching every little thing I could find out about this
Yeah.
film.
Yeah. I keep seeing so much stuff about obviously the film now on TikTok and stuff. So I saw Samson's character, actor Chi Lewis. I don't know if that's how you say it. But like there's talking, obviously there's a lot of nudity and sort of naked scenes in this film. They they were talking about how they use stuff for that, so they never felt completely naked. So they was like, don't get too excited. It's not my real penis, whatever. But
Oh,
yeah,
they might be like, yeah, that's mine. Man, what?
So
yeah, I
that
know, yeah.
that is my final point, because I did say this to Andy. I was like, literally, I've never seen a movie with so many massive penises like just on display. And then like Ralph Fiennes, like, and it's a weird question to ask, but is that his actual penis or is that a different one? Because it's like, yeah, when he starts away, then he just gets naked and sits on the bed. And I actually thought he was about to have he was gonna like tug himself off or something. I was like, where is this going, guys? And I shouldn't have these thoughts in my head, but
You
when you have
shouldn't.
like
No.
movie where you're surrounded, when you have like big dicks just in your face in like multiple scenes, like, they're massive, mate. So
Okay.
yeah, I need to find out not more about that, but like
No,
is
it's
it
not.
real?
It's
Is it
not real. I
prosthetic?
just told you it's not.
I
Yeah,
What?
think
But
it's
that was
not.
from all of
Like,
them.
yeah, they put on like these shorts things, and then
Oh,
it's all
okay.
fake.
I think that's a
All
good
right.
point to end the podcast.
Yeah.
That is going to do it for tonight's episode of the Late Night Movie Podcast. Let us know what you thought of 28 Years Later, The Bone Temple. Do you think it's the best in the franchise? Let us know in the comments or tag us on socials at the Late Night Pods. We'd love to hear from you. You can also join our Discord using the link in the description to get your thoughts in before the episodes. If you enjoyed the episode, please make sure to follow and subscribe wherever you are listening. And if you're watching on YouTube, hit the like button, subscribe, and ring the bell so you don't miss the next episode. Speaking of which, next time we will be continuing our A to Z movie series with the horror movie VHS. You will not want to miss that one. Until then, thanks for hanging out with us tonight. I've been your host, Welchy, and joined by my co-host, as always, Andy.
Yeah, thank you as always, guys. It's been a pleasure, and I'm so excited that I picked the Bone Temple for the Rotten Tomatoes game.
And Stephen.
Yeah, it's been a pleasure as always. And yeah, looking forward to talking about VHS.
Thank you for listening, and we will see you next time.